Alright, so I'm a huge fan of the 2018 iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and I have been using that since probably 2018 or 2019. It has been my go-to device. It has been my favorite iPad of all time. But I think the age of the iPad is starting to show, especially with certain tasks. And I really wanted to see if the iPad Air 5, yes, the iPad Air 5 would be the one that could replace my iPad Pro, because I'm not a student anymore. And now that I'm working a full-time job as an engineer, I don't really care so much about all the tech specs about the iPad. I just need something that gets the job done. And I'm not using as much as I once was when I was in school. So I was wondering if maybe I could get by with an iPad Air 5, save a little bit. And I was just trying to see if the iPad Air 5 might be a viable option for someone coming from an older iPad that can still get an upgrade, save a little bit of money, especially with some promotions that come up. I wanted to see if something like that might be good. And there's a lot of pluses and minuses when it comes to comparing these two. So let's go ahead and compare them right now. Now, the biggest thing I think that's going to be the difference between the two is going to be the tech specs, because obviously they come from 2018 versus 2022. So that's a 4-year span of hardware improvements. So let's kind of run down what the differences are going to be in that department. Let's take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, ESR Gear. They make some really high quality cases that are more than just a case, and they follow the motto, tech made easier. And they really live up to that, because they make cases that not just protect your devices, but also kind of adapt to the different use cases and functionality of your devices, such as work, play, games, drawing, writing, etc. And they cover cases for any iPad that you have out there, both new and old, as well as your phones, AirPods, any accessories that you might have along with your devices. They should have something for that. So make sure you check out their website, and also especially check out their new rebound magnetic case for the iPads. It does have the cantilever design of the Magic Keyboard, but it actually improves the design a little bit by including a flap for your Apple Pencil. Not only that, they do also offer some very nice and unique cases, such as the Hybrid Case 360, so make sure you check those out in the links in the description below. Now back to the video. So now that all the fancy tech specs are out of the way, what about just real world usage? Because at the end of the day, some of these numbers on the tech specs don't really translate into that much difference into real life usage. And I would say the most noticeable things you're going to feel is the lack of the 120 hertz, but you're also going to feel the gain of the extra 4 gigabytes of RAM. And that was something that was completely surprising to me. Also with the M1 chip, a lot of the applications have a little bit more power and a little bit more room to kind of grow as far as capabilities and just speed. Like I noticed with Lightroom, everything just loads a lot faster, less lag. When it comes to Procreate, you can have a lot more layers. Things work a lot better, especially if you're doing like 3D graphics on there. Now, when it comes to that screen, I know a lot of people might be a little bit hesitant about the 60 hertz screen because of the iPad mini 6 and all the jelly scroll, jelly gate, whatever you want to call it. And this does not have the jelly scrolling issue at all. I think this is a much better 60 hertz panel overall. Just as long as you're not too picky and you're not too noticeable of the difference in refresh rate, you're going to be fine with this. I get by perfectly fine, to be honest, and I'm not really looking out for that. And when it comes to writing with an Apple Pencil, both are perfectly fine. I don't necessarily notice the extra smoothness with the 120 hertz display on the iPad Pro, so that again will be how nitpicky you are and how much you actually notice these things. Now, if you're a big audio fan, like if you like listening to music like me, then you're probably going to notice the speakers kind of lacking in the extra fullness of the sound. With the iPad Air 5, the speakers are still great. Like, don't get me wrong, they're still really good. They beat my Lenovo laptop that I have, the gaming laptop that I have. They completely blow that out of the water. But when it comes to just extra sound, extra power, I think that the iPad Pro still kind of has the edge there. Now, when it comes to the rest of the experience of the iPads, you're not really going to notice too much difference. Like, there's only just minor differences, and that kind of comes down to whether or not you like those different things. So, for example, the iPad Air 5 comes in a whole bunch of cool colors. Like, I picked up this really nice blue color. My favorite color is blue. I don't know if you've noticed from, I mean, I don't know how much I've shown of my blue stuff in these videos, but when it comes to the color, it's very nice. You can kind of customize it more that way. The smaller form factor I think is nice, coming from the 12.9 inch. And then last but not least, let's talk about some accessories. And basically the accessories are going to be almost the exact same. You can still use the Magic Keyboard. They have the smart connector. And then also with the Apple Pencil 2, it still works perfectly fine with the iPad. Again, it's made to still work with that. So not going to get any extra issues in that department. Now, when it comes to those of you who are downgrading in size, like the 12.9 inch to the 10.9 inch, I would say that there are pros and cons to that as well. It just depends on what you do on your iPad. When I was taking notes, I much preferred the 12.9 inch screen. I just felt like that was more what a paper size was actually like. Obviously, the iPad 11 inch or iPad Air is going to be more of a physical size of a piece of paper, but the screen size is more of a piece of paper on the 12.9 inch. And I feel like just having the extra screen real estate just makes it a lot easier to write notes. But then again, I'm also just very used to it. So, I mean, it depends what you like when it comes to writing on the iPad. But overall, when it comes to just downgrading, I think I prefer the smaller form factor just because of the extra portability. It just saves a little bit of weight in the bag or just when you're carrying it around. And also when it comes to reading books, I just feel like the smaller form factor is a lot more natural when reading, and also just less weight to hold while you're reading just makes it for a more comfortable experience. And I've just found that I've been reading a lot more on my iPad instead of writing so many notes. And even though I will be using my iPad for studying for like the engineering license exam, I don't necessarily care about the extra screen size. And I don't really use my iPad as a laptop as much anymore. And if I do, I just basically combine it with my ESR keyboard, and I have that laptop feel without needing to pay the extra price for the Magic Keyboard. So at the end of the day, it's just kind of like up to you what you like in that department, but that's my preference. Oh yeah, and then also when it comes to Touch ID versus Face ID, from what I've noticed, Face ID works great in a lot of applications, and it's really nice to just look at your iPad and have it unlock. But there are definitely some circumstances, like when I was using my iPad for work, when I was drawing some PNIDs for a project, I was out in a facility, and having Touch ID helped save a lot of time because I didn't have to try to scan my face, and also I could hand my iPad to someone else. You know, it just works a lot better when your face is covered with beard nets, face masks, glasses, no glasses. It just helps in those types of situations. So for me, Touch ID is actually more of a pro than it is a con. So let me know what you think down in the comments between the two if you found this video interesting, and make sure you subscribe and like the video and share it with some friends if you think this might benefit them as well. And until next time, don't forget to take it easy with some tea.